I've always been about the process, and ceramics, it's a process. Ceramics, it's one of the very few places that I allow myself to be more curious and ask the question, what if? I discovered ceramics what was supposed to be my last year of college. I went to UW Parkside and I was studying psychology. The semester that was supposed to be my last semester before my internship, I ended up being 3 credits short to be able to take that next step. And they were liberal arts. My academic advisor sort of put a little doubt in me and said, you know, it looks a lot easier than what it is. Wheel throwing is pretty technical. It's probably one of the most technical things in the making of ceramics. I didn't know anything about wedging or preparing the clay or really what the wheel was, and just sort of figured out, put the piece of clay on the wheel, and there's these pedals, kind of like an accelerator, and the clay flew off. Unfortunately, the professor of the class, and as he was walking in, this thing kind of slammed into the side of his foot. So he ended up being a bit expletive. What are you doing in my studio? And get out, with a lot of expletives in there. And I couldn't even explain. I took off and realized on my way out that on Monday morning, I had to show up with a slip and talk to him and say, hi, I'd like to take your class. I know it's a couple of weeks into the semester, but I really need this credit for my, and that's kind of how it started. I was actually spending more time in the ceramics studio, so I ended up changing my major at that point and haven't really looked back since then. I was trained as a functional potter. I feel that it's kind of limiting when it comes to expression of an idea or of a concept. But art and making is about putting part of who you are in what you are making, and that's what connects to other people. That chemistry to me is kind of a little bit like life. You have an idea of what you want to do, let's say for a career, but through twists and turns of what life is about, you may not be able to get there. And then you've got to figure something else out, right? But whatever that is, how can I say it more simply? Life isn't really what we think it is. It's an actuality, and we got to pay attention to the moment. The House of Rad is about community and collaboration. Today, we are at the new House of Rad. We're in the Menominee River Valley. We've doubled our space to take in more artists, which we already have a waiting list. The name of my studio is Looking Wolf Studio. My artwork at that point was really focused on my Mexican heritage and my Native American heritage. Esta, Sugmani Tutanka Wakan, which basically means looking wolf in Lakota. Right now, I'm working on an untitled show for MOA that's going to be at the St. Kate. I want to make very intricate individual pieces that when hung together almost become overwhelming at the sight of such a gathering. As we would look at this composition, we would sort of find individual pieces that would resonate with us, with each one of us. That thing that we've forgotten, that we're all made out of exactly the same thing. It's just the composition that we're exhibiting, which is what makes us unique, but not to the point of being better or worse than any of the other pieces in the composition. The vessels that I chose to make, they're a little bit taller. They've got a little bit more of a biomorphic shape. They have a bit of weight to them. I wanted to kind of make them feel a little bit more grounded. I started learning about world religions. And one of the things that resonated with me was Buddhism, specifically Korean Zen Buddhism, because enlightenment isn't the last stop to enlightenment. So what if you're enlightened, but how do you help this world? That's the enlightenment part, when you can figure out how you help other beings. I'm going to start out with a small circle in the middle made by coils, and then I'm going to make tiny coils, and I'm going to join them together and then surround that with another coil. That's the premise here. I've been teaching ceramics since about 1989. I love teaching, and people love the way I teach. So what I teach is we're going to make shapes that are going to challenge the way you use your fingers and the tools that are accessible to you so that you can make any shape that you conceive. You just have to understand how clay and you relate at the moment. So again, it goes back to that Zen Buddhism idea of be present, be here now. That's the beginning of enlightenment. The next step is, how do I use this to help others?
El talento local es el alma de nuestra ciudad. Si desea ver más sobre la obra de Tony Macias, búsquelo en espacios como el House of Rad y en sus redes sociales.